one of the things that we share is that a very firm belief that if there's something that we want to do, it's possible that we can do it. And I didn't even realize until recently that that's just a pretty rare belief.
Alright guys, welcome to the HDY podcast, episode 1. Today's guest went from dropping out of college to co-founding Futurism, a news site with over 7 million followers. We'll get more into what led him to drop out of school, the handful of successful companies that he started, and how he did it. We'll touch on how he thinks psychedelic drugs have affected his entrepreneurial spirit, and the self-talk he goes through to think big. I dusted this one off the shelf from 3 years ago, so you get to peek back to when Futurism was just getting started. 6 years ago, Jordan helped me kickstart my career. I told him I'd animate a concept from one of his favorite books if he'd publish it to his massive audience. He obliged, and the rest was history.
Alright, so where are you at, man?
Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the heart of Williamsburg, or border of Bushwick and Williamsburg. Yeah.
I have an apartment there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, with two really good friends of mine.
What caused you to go out there? Because you've been jumping around quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd like to continue doing that, but I like Brooklyn a lot, so I might just stay here. It's a company called Futurism. It was started by one of my roommates here, like a year and a half ago, and he was trying to have me join for a while, but it just wasn't the right time. And then suddenly he gave me the offer as a CTO, and it greatly expanded the vision for the company past just a media company. Because right now it's like we're just reporting on futuristic technologies like robotics and gene editing, stuff like that. But the vision is to then move into like an incubator model and bring in companies that are putting together technologies that could like radically change the world and give them money and help and advisement.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've heard of like the X Project?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot of incubators in the U.S. Ours is, I wouldn't necessarily say unique, but most incubators are just focused on like any startup company that'll make a lot of money, whereas ours is only like very futuristic technology with widespread implications.
That's awesome. That's like, I feel like we've always had similar interests, and that's probably why we know each other, but that's always been a big interest of mine is futurism. And I know you probably follow like Jason Silva, and I think the founder of Reddit's like really into futurism as well.
Mm-hmm. Alexis.
Yep, Alexis. Yeah. So let's back up for a sec. First time you probably came into my reality, or I actually probably didn't know it was you, but I was really into Stumble Upon like back in, might have been like 08, 09, something like that. Does that sound right? Yeah,
2009 is when High Existence started.
Okay.
Like you would have been really early if you got in 2009, but yeah.
Okay. I think it was around, when did you start promoting through Stumble Upon?
Pretty much right away, but it was started in January 2009, but Stumble Upon didn't pick it up in like a huge way until maybe like early 2011.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to say it was probably 2011. But I came across probably some articles about conversations with God, which we can touch on a little bit later. But if you meet someone who really likes that book, there's like almost like a easier way for you to connect with them, just because you have an understanding of how the universe works, kind of.
Totally. Oh yeah.
Like how you started High Existence. You were a student, right, at USC?
Yeah, I was a student. I was going there for business and entrepreneurship, and then got there, took some classes, and quickly realized that I wasn't going to learn a whole lot about actually doing or like running a business just in a classroom. Mm-hmm. Quickly became really unhappy with the curriculum and just like the whole university experience, and started using Stumble Upon, of all things, to kind of look for something meaningful. Mm-hmm. And came across articles about meditation and just spirituality, following your bliss, stuff like that. And been looking around the web for a website that kind of combined all of that stuff in one blog, and didn't really find it. There was like self-improvement blogs, and there was like spirituality blogs and business blogs, but nothing that drew it all together. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for an idea to work on to like pay my way around the world, so decided to start a blog and write about it, and called it High Existence.
So I don't know how much like social pressure you had to be doing school or whatever. Maybe you didn't have much, but for a lot of people that's like a big huge step, like probably one of the biggest hurdles they'll take in their entire life. Was there something that was like pivotal that just completely made you snap and be like, I have to do this right now? Or was it just kind of like a slow thing?
Well, there was definitely a moment when I made the decision. I was pledging a frat at the time, and we had some, party where we invited sorority girls to come with us to some bar or something like that. And I sat next to this one frat brother who happened to be on the football team. It was huge, and we were doing sake bombs, and I decided to keep up with him, and basically just blacked out super hard. And woke up in my bed the next morning, had no idea if I'd even gotten to the venue. And for some reason, like in that just really screwed up state, I had a moment of clarity, which is like, this is what I need to do. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not sure what I want to do instead, but it's definitely not this. Mm-hmm. So I might as well just stop and then start figuring that out.
Because you felt like you were like wasting your time or something.
Yeah.
So you started High Existence in 2009. I didn't probably stumble across it till 2011 or so. And was it like really slow? Did it take a long time to get up and running?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it wasn't always like a glorious big community. So it took about 2 years from after I started it to really, really catch on. And like I said, it was like Stumble Upon that really like rocketed the popularity so quickly. But there was, 2 years I dropped out, and then just instead of living the dream and traveling the world, I was just at my mom's place, staying up late, learning how to code and design, writing articles. And, I'd be happy if 20 people came to the site during that time period. And then it just did that. Yeah.
I'm going to assume that basically you started working with WordPress templates, and then you got to know PHP, JavaScript a lot more complex from there.
Yeah, it was totally piecemeal. I was just like, I want to change the color of the header. Like, how do I do that? And then, I have to learn CSS. Okay, I guess I'll do that. And it was never my intention to become a coder at all, but it kind of just happened. And then I found a love for it and then just kept learning.
So you've stepped away from High Existence from what I understand. What's your role there now? Like completely hands-free, or do you just want to write there occasionally, or?
I'd love to get back into writing when I'm not totally overwhelmed with other things. But yeah, currently I'm totally hands-off. My partner Martijn is still running it, and then he has two great guys that we brought on to help him run it without me.
Nice. How do you guys have that structured? Is it set up as obviously an LLC or a DBA or something, and do you guys split equity, or how do you guys structure that?
Yeah, it's an LLC. I'm not an expert in terms of legal structures, but basically we have equity, and then we have equity that we've also given to the two guys we brought on, because I firmly believe that if you're working on something, you should feel ownership of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, to say that you've worked on High Existence and Futurism is kind of an understatement, because you've done so much. Did Rave Nectar come before Valhalla?
That was mid-Valhalla, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so they were kind of overlapping at the same time. Two Kickstarters that I want to say added up once, and it was 120,000 combined.
I think it was 30 plus 71, right? So 101,000.
Okay, so about 100,000 combined, which is pretty damn good. And that was a few years back too, before it started gaining a lot of popularity. But are you still involved in both of those projects?
Valhalla, no. That was actually the first project where it had to muster up the strength and be I need to move on from this and do new things. I've kind of found out that I'm much better, and I enjoy starting things more than I do propagating them for years afterwards. I just love starting things and then giving it to people who are more passionate about that specific thing than I am.
Yeah.
So that's happened with High Existence and Valhalla, and soon Rave Nectar. I'm still involved with Rave Nectar. We're actually launching another Kickstarter as soon as possible for yoga mats. They're insanely beautiful, vibrant yoga mats, just like our shirts.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Awesome. Just sometime this spring or something like that?
Yeah, we're waiting on the final samples right now.
Cool. I was checking out Futurism, which I've been really excited to talk about it with you, just because I know you kind of went under the radar for a minute there when you left High Existence. I remember reading, or maybe you said this in your last podcast, you did, but you're I'm just going to take a little time and figure things out and see what I want to do. And then I remember seeing you saying, hey, I'm going with Futurism. and I didn't really research into it because I was like, hey, we can just talk about it on the podcast. But I was looking into it last night, and what I was astounded by was the amount of content you guys had already.
Oh yeah.
What's up with that?
We have a large team. We have like maybe 20 people in total, all from all around the world, working at all times of the day and night.
Just curating content?
Yeah, curating content. Some dedicated video people, dedicated writers, editors that take those pieces and perfect them and publish on the site. It's a really smooth system.
Yeah. Because honestly, I looked at it and I was like, okay, they have to be like crawling and spinning data basically. Like, there's no way. So I was like going and looking at the sources, and I'm like, no, this article's not the same at all. Like, I was trying to figure out what you guys were doing, but you just have a big team.
It's artificial intelligence. No, I'm kidding. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Actually, we just built an internal tool that scrapes, as many RSS feeds as we want to input, and then it ranks all of those articles by like number of social shares and the acceleration of those social shares, so we can catch articles before they get big and then quickly, write our own versions of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can see where you guys are going with it. Like, you guys are doing the infographics, which is cool because a lot of people have been saying the infographics aren't as good anymore as they used to be. But I think you guys have it set up for social so that hopefully people like Joe Rogan or big people will be like sharing this week in technology kind of things, because like all those big channels like Spirit Science and I fucking love science, and they're all sharing stuff like that. I think you really already have probably your target audience picked out, right?
Yeah, we're doing well. I've never seen a startup move and grow faster than Futurism has.
Have you guys started really promoting it yet? Or are you guys still kind of flying low, or are you just going full out?
Oh, we're
now?
Full out. Yeah, we're everywhere. Reddit and Facebook are the biggest channels for us. Futurism got its start because of those This Week in Tech and This Week in Science infographics on Reddit. Luckily for us, our Futurology is a default subreddit. So like if you haven't customized your subreddits, you see stuff from our Futurology, and that's where we post our infographics.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get front page?
Yeah, pretty consistently.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is just
pretty consistently,
huge.
like as in like every day?
Oh, no, not every day. We post 2 infographics a week, and then sometimes we'll get like random people share articles and they'll hit the front page. So Reddit loves science.
Yeah, they sure do. So what's your day like now, as opposed to, obviously you change stuff up a lot. I remember last time I was talking to you, you were doing some Vipassana retreat or something like that, and you're just always doing something. But like, do you have a pretty strict routine right now that you're working on?
Yeah, it's probably the most structured routine I've had since being in school, actually. But it's still fun. We have an office here in Brooklyn. It's like 4 subway stops away. Yeah, as I said, my co-founder lives right behind me, right here. So we go there, we play a lot of ping pong.
Awesome.
We got a really cool, like, chill office environment. Yeah, it's nice.
And I mean, what's your daily role in the company? You're CTO, so are you just basically trying to bring the futurism to futurism? Or?
Yeah. So I'm mostly just knee deep in code all day.
Okay.
I have some coders that work underneath me, so I do a lot of like design and code.
So you've done the whole site yourself, or?
Yep. Exactly.
Cool.
That site's my baby.
Cool. How long did that take you?
I'm
sure you could borrow a lot of code from stuff you did with High Existence.
Yeah, that's all been very reusable. But I guess, let's see. The original site was actually the same theme as High Existence, and then when I came on officially here, we just like redid the entire thing, and it probably took like 3 weeks, maybe, to get it to like a good phase, and it's just been growing and changing ever since. How
do you balance not working too much on projects to the point where you get burnt out?
I think that's where the side project comes in. Like, I think if I had just had like one project and nothing else, then I would get really burned out. But it's like, oh, I'm feeling kind of burned out on the main project. Okay, cool, I'm gonna go work on the side project, and then just go keep balancing those, and then just having a healthy, social life, getting outside, hanging out with actual people instead of your laptop, as good of a companion as this is.
So how many hours a day do you think you put in, or did you put in more when you were starting and now you're leveling out, or what?
I was a straight workaholic for good 6 years, up until maybe a year ago. Just like, all the time, even people are coming over and I'm still like kind of on my laptop while they're here. But now things are a lot different, especially like with Futurism. I generally like to just leave the work at the office, which is something I never did before.
So you doing like 9 to 5 kind of thing?
9 to 5, yeah. As much as I hate to say that,
yeah,
I'm doing 9 to 5.
No,
yeah.
Honestly, I can see when that becomes necessary and even beneficial sometimes.
Yeah, if you're working with a team, like just more structure is required, and the results are visible. So
awesome. I struggle a lot with that, like just working, and it's always can't move this stuff together. Yeah, but I feel like I've like hit a midlife crisis lately where I'm like, wow, I can't just continue to just work harder and harder and harder every month of my life, twice as hard as the last, So I've been just trying to figure out where to draw the line of like, this is working too hard, to the point where it's probably not efficient or effective.
Well, what's the format of this? Can I ask about you, or is this all going to be about me?
No, this is conversation, but
okay.
we can do whatever.
Cool. So like, what are you thinking about? Like, what are you thinking about doing, and what's the crisis?
Well, no, it's just like, Okay, you're a big fan of Elon Musk, right?
Huge, yeah.
So, have you read his biography yet?
I have, yeah.
So I read that, and I was already working a lot of hours, and I read that just made it even worse. I was like, oh, I need to be more like Elon, and just now I'm gonna double my hours. I think that guy is really incredible because he puts himself in situations where he's literally changing the world. Whereas a lot of my projects, I'll get really enveloped in them, but then in the end it's was this project really changing the world? Am I just making money? And so for me it's I feel like I've had two crises that I've talked to you about. One was when I was living in Austin. I was yeah, I want to start blogging about more spiritual stuff or whatever, because business blogging doesn't cut it. But it's always just figure out a routine for a long time, get working harder, and then trying to reassess. I don't know. Do you feel like when you left High Existence or anything, there was any sort of internal crisis with you that was I need to be working on something else?
Well, I still had Rave Nectar to work on, but not really. It was actually, let's see, that was about the time when I was really learning to just not work as much and just appreciate other things, and kind of get out of that dopamine search where it's just checking things off the checklist, oh yeah, dopamine, more dopamine.
Yep.
So no, I didn't really feel that urgency. Yeah.
Okay, so it was just kind of maybe I should do something else now, because when I brought up when you left school to when you started working on High Existence, that was this big pivotal force. It was I need to do something different right now. But are you saying that maybe things are less critical now, or?
Actually, it was a pretty similar experience, and kind of saying I'm not sure what I should be doing, but it's not this. This isn't working for me anymore, and so I'm just going to not do this, and then see what comes next. Kind of you gotta make space in life.
How do you feel your interest in psychedelic drug research has impacted your entrepreneurial skills? Research
or usage?
One and the same.
My personal research?
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't thought about it being, or how it's affected my entrepreneurial spirit. Well, I'd say they've massively impacted who I am and what I value, which I guess kind of indirectly affects, what kind of companies I want to build, where I find meaning. I used to say that psychedelics were my number one teacher. I've never had a mentor. I just basically took a bunch of acid and shrooms, saw the world melt and saw that things weren't as concrete as you might think. And that made me think about a lot of things and like just really questioned everything that I thought was true between the ages of 18 and 24. And of course that's like a continual process. But I feel like now I don't have as much of a desire to do psychedelics because I've kind of cemented what I'm like. I like this life view that I built up, this mythology that I'm living under. And until something shakes it up, don't feel the need to like constantly reevaluate.
Have you ever tried iboga?
I have not tried iboga.
What about ayahuasca?
Yeah, I've tried ayahuasca once.
You did?
But it wasn't all that interesting of an experience. I did it in Canada mostly because it was just available to me for the first time. Like I never had access to it. Didn't really feel the inclination to do it at the time, but just did it because it was there. And I think consequently it was just a really weak experience.
Okay.
And ayahuasca is like an interesting drug in that you'll always hear people say that it like the plant chooses the experience you're going to have. Like if you take 3-5 of shrooms, you're going to trip balls every single time. But you could take the same amount of ayahuasca 5 separate times and not feel anything, or like go to the moon, or just feel like eh. And mine was like the first experience where it was just really light. Yeah.
I've heard you say that ketamine's probably your favorite.
Yeah.
What would you compare to that?
Ketamine's it's a really interesting drug. I would say it's definitely like a dark drug, like not in like a evil, sinister way, but like definitely a dark vibe. So I don't think like it's a drug for everybody, but it's incredibly visual. Like if you close your eyes on like a fair dose of ketamine, you're gonna see things that you just don't see on other drugs, even acid. Like I think that a strong dose of ketamine puts acid to shame in terms of like how trippy and how far away from this reality you are. Because the whole thing is it's a dissociative and it's like a very strong tranquilizer. And so if you take enough, you totally lose track of where your body ends and where like, outside space begins. So you close your eyes and you're just floating in the universe. Like you have nothing to tie you back and bring you back to this reality. So you go far out. Yeah.
Interesting. Have you smoked DMT? Maybe something like that, similar?
Yeah, I have smoked DMT, but I've never broke through. I just recently have learned that the best way to smoke DMT is through a volcano vaporizer. Because if you look online, the conventional wisdom is like to use like a crack pipe to smoke DMT, which is incredibly uncomfortable, burns your throat, tastes like just the worst thing you've tasted, and like burnt earwax and just really bad. Yeah, so I've gotten close but haven't broken through.
The reason I bring this up, and this is more of like a business type podcast documentary, but obviously everyone's heard Steve Jobs say that LSD was one of his greatest experiences, but to me it's an interesting point that you have such an interest in that stuff, and you say that one of your biggest discoveries is that things are not as solid as you think they are, and it's just ironic that at the same time you've done so much of your life. I mean, how old are you? I think you're a year older than me or something.
25.
25. You've done what? 4 companies now? This is your 4th company, Futurism?
Depends on what you'd call a company. It's like my 6th or 7th like entity that I've created. Yeah.
So you've done a lot, but I just find it ironic that a lot of people who are open to experiencing those type of things just find reality so moldable.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I was just talking about this with my roommate the other day. Him and I are very similar, and one of the things that we share is that a very firm belief that there's something that we want to do, it's possible that we can do it. And I didn't even realize until recently that that's just a pretty rare belief. Like most people are like, oh, there's limitations. I don't have the resources. I don't know the people for that. But I think especially after doing psychedelics, you see that, like you said, the world is very moldable. And it like I firmly believe that the universe is like just conspiring to make your experience here more awesome, and that there's like the universe is optimistic. Basically, I think we all have good luck here, in a way. And if you want to do something, you totally can. and everyone starts from square one. Like that's where I started. I didn't know anything about websites or companies or coding or anything. And everyone starts in the same place. Just put in the work, baby steps, day by day, and then you end up here.
So do you feel like everyone experiences their own reality, or do you feel like reality is optimistic?
Yeah, I do think everyone experiences their own reality.
So you think your reality is optimistic?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'll wake up on the wrong side of the bed and I'll just miss the subway and there's like a coding bug that I can't figure out and it takes 3 hours. And I feel like when you're in that kind of resistance mindset where things bother you, then just more bad things will happen. Like what you resist persists. Where if we're just in a Zen mind state, it's almost like the world shifts around you and it like recognizes like, oh yes, very good, sir. And it gives you less bullshit.
Do you have any routines you do besides the typical like meditation and maybe like some yoga, just some physical exercise? Are there any other big things you do to kind of maintain that balance of productivity and positivity?
So the big thing for me is walks in the morning, or at least I try to do it every morning. And that's my preferred form of meditation. Just like, walking down a whole block and trying to count your breaths the entire time, and then just kind of talking out loud about things that are going on in life and like intentions that I have. I most of the time I don't do the conventional, breathing in, breathing out meditation. I'd rather just go outside and walk.
So like a walking meditation?
Exactly. Yeah. But also just, I think the biggest thing for changing yourself and just being happy and being present is that moment by moment awareness throughout the day, well beyond your 30 minutes or so in the morning. And just be like, that doesn't feel good. Like that anger, that jealousy, I just felt like, let's not do that. Let's change that.
Be less reactive.
Yeah, I think that's how, I think by being hyper aware of just how your body feels and what your thoughts are throughout the day, like that's how you really change yourself in a huge way.
Do you think that's more important than expanding your mind with psychedelics or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, if you have to do one, I would definitely suggest moment by moment awareness.
If you have to.
Yeah, but I think the psychedelics will help you have the motivation and the reason to do that.
I agree. Well, I know you got your next phone call coming up in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, I do indeed.
Cool. I'm hoping that we can tie you into this story. I'm excited to see how Futurism plays out. It looks like it's already doing really well, so up and up from here.
Me too, man. I'm excited.
Appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome to talk to someone who has been there, done so much.
Likewise, it's always good to talk to you, Mason. And if you want to do a follow-up,
all right, appreciate it.
Follow-up stuff anytime, just hit me up.
Yeah.
You can probably get the same lighting or the same shirt. Good to go.
All right. Sounds good. You have a great day, man.
Peace, bro.
Okay, thanks, George. See ya.